Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to all of our viewers, and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to my guest. Once again, three times running, brother Professor Bashir Ahmad Shah.
Assalamu alaikum, brother. Nice to be back.
Alaikum salam. How are you doing?
Doing all right. Just hanging out. 4th of July. So hearing a lot of explosions.
Yeah, so we're doing our own fireworks online tonight.
We are.
So what's it called? So you can see brother Bashir tonight. He's got his Chicago Cubs hat on, with
Chicago.
complementing the red with the red.
Yep.
Um, so we're gonna start off. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. ما كان محمد أبا أحد من رجالكم ولكن رسول الله وخاتم النبيين وكان الله بكل شيء عليما. And the translation of this ayah is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is not the father of any of your men, but is the messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the seal of the prophets. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has perfect knowledge of all things. So this has been something obviously we've been discussing for the past few weeks. This is something we've been talking about for some time now. Alhamdulillah, Brother Bashir has given me a lot of his time. I've appreciated him for that. And because of his advocacy on my channel, which is a very small channel compared to his and many other channels, a lot of people have actually reached out to me and told me really weird stories about Ahmadis reaching out to them and trying to convert them, converting people through marriage, things like this, and how people were approached and they were told a certain version of Ahmadiyya, which sounded very close to Islam, and they were given certain, I guess you can call them like benefits or beneficial ideas, like, oh, if you join Ahmadiyya, this is what you get. And they I don't know if they came close to it, but they at least contemplated it due to what they were told. And when I told them that this is not what it actually is, they were like, yeah, after some time we figured it out, but we still didn't know to the extent of what Brother Bashir is telling us this knowledge. And people have actually been watching and listening to the podcast to learn about all of this. And alhamdulillah, due to his efforts on his Ahmadiyya Fact Check blog, due to his efforts on his channel, a lot of people are learning. I've watched a few other videos of other Ahmadis who converted to mainstream Islam. And then obviously there was one video which you shared, I think, on TikTok, where Mirza, what's the guy's name, right? Masrur.
Masroor.
Chachaji is sitting there and asking people like, so how did you convert?
He
And
says,
basically, it's the same
why?
story.
He says, why?
Yeah, why? And they're like, oh, well, I had some friends and I met a girl. Well, I had some friends and, they talked me into it and I became Ahmadi because they were all Ahmadi. He's like, oh, okay, so how did you, what is your story? And then they're like, oh, well, my wife was one of my friends and, she sort of convinced me and, this and that. But that isn't the first time I've heard that. There was one guy I was talking to recently and he was telling me about how he was working somewhere in an IT company, and one of the guys there spoke with him for some time, and then he invited him over for dinner one day. And he told him, oh, you should come over. I have some daughters. They're young. I need to get them married. They're very pretty, stuff like that. He invites him over. They have dinner. He introduces him to the daughters. And, he's like, they're pretty. And then he's like, at the end of everything, after Mita, Mita.
Move me,
Yeah,
Takaro.
Mumitakaro. So after Mumitakaro, he's like, we're actually Qadiani. He's like, I never spoke with that guy ever again. He's like, it was like a whole scheme all the way up until dinner. After dinner, we had Mita, chai, everything. And then he's like, oh, I'm Qadiani. And he's like, after that, it was like, okay, bye. It's like, I'm not seeing you again. So it's not the first time I've heard this. There was another story where somebody reached out to me and they told me the girl even got married, and then the girl's family found out the girl was Palestinian. They found out that the guy was actually Ahmadi. They didn't figure anything out at first, but obviously they play the part right. And the
Yeah.
sister was messaging her sister who got married and asking her, "Hey, you married this Ahmadi guy? What is their fake? What is their religion?" And she's messaging and she's getting replies, and she's like, "I'd been feeling like it's not my sister." And finally, my sister said, "Oh, I haven't been getting these messages." So he had been replying and then deleting the messages so the sister won't see them. His wife.
Yeah.
So it's not the first time any of this has happened. And the essential crux. I don't mean to take up the whole time, but inshallah, brother
No, it's
Bashir
okay.
is going to be doing the majority of the talking. But the essential crux comes up, uh, is that the Khatm Nubuwat, that there is no prophet to come after the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If there was, Hazrat Abu Bakr would have said something. Hazrat Umar would have said something. Hazrat Uthman would have said something. Hazrat Ali would have said something. The four of the most closest men out of many didn't know about this. The Prophet ﷺ himself didn't know about this. He would have prophesied somewhere that, oh yeah, there's going to be another guy who comes out. He never said that. He even said that if there was another Nabi to come after me, it would have been, Hazrat Umar radiallahu anhu. Or he said he had a son by the name of Ibrahim. He said, oh, he would have been, but Ibrahim died in childhood, or sometime after he was born. And he said, he said these things. So we know that the Prophet ﷺ never gave any indication. He never told us anything about this. And then all of a sudden we have a guy who comes 1200, 1300 years later, and under British influence, under very mysterious circumstances, comes up with a very mysterious and very different version of Islam, his own version of Islam. And and it's all of the stuff, and it's a very, very, no offense to my Punjabi bradri, but it's a very Punjabi heavy version of Islam where you can see the influence. And I know people will be like, well, Islam has Arabic. Yes, it does. It comes from the Middle East. Islam originated Makkah, Medina, places like this is where, all of the Quran was revealed and all of the influence and stuff like that. But this religion has a very Pakistani spin on it. And if it's a extension of Islam, it wouldn't.
It wouldn't.
It wouldn't. And it's a very, very localized religion, but at the same time, it's not. Where they have all of these things where they try to incorporate Baha'i and Guru Nanak and Hinduism and all of this stuff. And then I was reading something today, and I was talking with one of my friends who's actually helped me a lot. He was the one who got me in touch with you. He's helped me a lot with the questioning. I really want to appreciate it, but I'm not going to take his name. He asked me not to, but he's helped me a lot. And he's really invested in the cause of stamping out any sort of confusion. So I really want to thank him for all the efforts he's put in. Even with the questioning today, he gave me a good bit of his time. So the thing about it is, we are the reason Brother Bashir, especially coming from an Ahmadi background, is very adamant that there should be advocacy for this, is because he's been through this. He's seen all of this. And what we're talking about today, the Jalsa Salana, their annual gathering, which started in, I think, 1891 or 1892, something like that.
It was 1891, yep.
1891.
First year.
The first one, they had 75 people come, and there's stories which we're going to go over. And the reason we're going over to this today, and we're sort of, culminating or ending up, this sort of topic. And inshallah, I'm going to cover a few more topics, but I'm going to have Brother Bashir on, and we're going to have a few more discussions from time to time. I don't want to stop having discussions with him because they're actually fun. The first one I was a little bit, stoic, or I wasn't that, excited, was because I was like, let me get to know the guy before I start going Asad. But alhamdulillah, it's been a good relationship. We've been messaging a lot. I've been learning a lot from him. The amount I've learned from him, I really thank him. Because there's a lot of details that we just wouldn't know. We just wouldn't, unless of course we find out. And there's basically Ahmadiyya is one of those sort of offshoot faiths where, unless of course you don't meet somebody, they're very secretive and they won't really tell you the real details. Like he's told us, from the outside they tell you it's Islam. My grandmother, we used to have a neighbor in Karachi, in Malir. Behind our house, there were Ahmadis. A whole gully. They had the Jamaat Khana temple further down, and they used to watch the TV. They had a little squash court in there too. So she used to invite my grandmother over, and my grandmother would go when she's sick or something, and neighbors. So she would go and she would show her the Quran. Ye dekhe hum bilkul wahi Quran padhte ja padhte. And she would try to convert her. And my grandmother's a very, very strong individual in her faith. Like, there was no chance that woman was ever going to convert my grandmother. No chance in heck.
Right.
So my grandmother would go over. She's like, no, at the end of the day, you're not Muslim. That must be the end of the conversation. My nani. So what's it called? So Brother Bashir, a few weeks ago, we had something called Jalsa Salana. What is Jalsa Salana? Please let us know.
Yeah, it's an annual convention that Mirza Ghulam Ahmad himself instituted. It's their Zilli Hajj. To them, it's more important. On the low, it's more important than Hajj. But on the surface, they won't tell you that. But really, in the circles, it's more important to go to Qadian back then than it was to go for Hajj. So that's how they all saw it.
And this is when they could go for Hajj openly.
When they could go, yeah, they can even go now from America, as long as they're being a munafiq, because they're not a Muslim, but they're presenting. Anyone can go from London, say the Shahada, I think, and they'll let you in.
Yeah.
There isn't really a verification process. Now, from Pakistan, Ahmadis have religion written on their passport.
Yeah.
So from Pakistan, it's probably not going to happen. But they do. The Pakistani government has allowed every Jalsa in Qadian. A train goes from Lahore
Rabwa, you mean?
from
No, no, you're saying they come from Qadian, India?
no after the partition,
Uh huh.
the Jalsas that were in Qadian,
Okay.
the Pakistani government, with in concert with the Indian government, would secure 1,000 visas for
Really?
Ahmadis, and no Pakistani can go to India. Forget it. You're not getting a visa, bro. It better be. I mean, who knows? But Ahmadis, Qadiani Ahmadis, were allowed to go on a train, one single train that would go probably from Lahore to Qadian, and then on the last day bring them all back. It was like a one way, just to make sure they don't go anywhere else. Um,
They don't
so
get lost.
yeah, so they don't get lost. So they say the Pakistani government is persecuting them. They've been allowing you to go to this Zilli Hajj um, forever, since 1950s, right? So it's that important. Um, I live on the west coast of America, and we had a regional Jalsa that me and my family would go to every year in Los Angeles. Sometimes in Los Angeles, sometimes in the Bay Area, mostly in Los Angeles. One year, my brother went on a credit card, and he took me with him. And it was 1998. And instead of going to work, he could have cleaned the shop. There's 10,000 things he could have did. Instead, he got a credit card, and you ran up a credit card to go to the Jalsa, because you have to keep up with the Joneses. You see what I mean? There ends up
Mhm.
being a competition in as who are you in the Ahmadiyya ranks, which I never did that. And at the Islamic Center, there really is none of that. No one really cares. You come to the masjid to pray. That's like the number one reason. There's no jockeying for position. So when they go to this Jalsa, so in Los Angeles, the boys would be out all night, drinking and partying, doing drugs. The girls too. So there's a lot of that going on. So then people meet, and a lot of rishte digal nami hundi hai, ne? So it's that sort of
I
situation.
mean, there's such few Qadianis. Either you got to convert somebody to marry them, or you got to find somebody.
No, and everyone's related. All Qadiani Ahmadis are related to each other at this point. And we used to make fun of that fact, like in the 90s. Everyone's related to each other one way or the other. You got a third cousin or a fourth cousin, because they've been trying to marry in. That's what they did in Pakistan. But obviously, the marrying outside is still the biggest thing going on. In fact, in Palestine, some of the courts in Palestine had a Muslim was married to a Qadiani woman, and they had to nullify the marriage. So that happens all the time.
Mm.
Um, and that's going on. But these Josas, they spend a lot of money. It's their number one marketing event. It's their number one dawah effort, and they
Mhm.
make Ahmadis pay for it. As you saw, I sent you the balance
Is
sheet.
there an entrance fee?
No, totally free.
So
And see,
Jalsa Salana is free. Okay.
it's free. So, but they do it the opposite way. Everyone else, you want to go to a care banquet, bro, you got to pay. You
Yeah.
want to go, and that's how we raise the money. That's like the
Yeah.
right way. You're paying for dinner. You're paying for this, brother. You're paying. They say no. Everything at the masjid will be free, but you got to get disrespected, and we're going to talk to you however we want, and you got to make your monthly payment. Once you make your monthly payment, there's a separate Jalsa Salana. If you pay that, they'll pay you to go to a Jalsa. They'll give
Hmm.
you half the money, because they're so desperate, because it's not that many people there. So they're paying a subsidy, which could be up to half from the West Coast to go to the National Jalsa
So so
yeah.
who can come to a Jalsa? Everybody, or there's select people that come to Jalsas? How does this work?
Yeah, you got to be a member, or someone's got to invite you. My dad used to bring people to the Jalsa. I remember in the same year, was it the same year? Maybe it was 97 or like 99. My dad would get a whole bunch of people, put them in a van, take them to LA, hold them hostage. I remember this one guy was mad he couldn't leave. He was like, "What do you mean I can't leave?" He's like, "Well, how are you going to get back to the Bay Area? You're with us. Our car doesn't leave until Sunday."
Take a
So
Greyhound.
but then he would have to pay. So
Yeah.
my dad was paying for it all for free. He was paying gas and all of that. And at the Jelsas in LA, if you had money, cool, you could get a hotel. If not, an Amity family would host you. Um,
Hmm.
so that's how it works. If you saw on the balance sheet for Canada, they spent $1 million in 2019 on this Jelsa.
Mm.
And that comes from children. You know, they take money from little kids, 7, 8 years old. They used to come up to me when I was 12. I'd be like, I don't make any money. You know, well, why? Well, how could I give you if I don't have any? You know,
Oh my god.
so that's in essence their annual marketing event in Pakistan. They're not allowed to hold them anymore since '84. I think '83 was the final Jalsa in
Oh.
Pakistan.
Do they
Um,
still go to do they still go to other countries to attend it then?
oh yeah, so the Jalsa in Qadian, they have their guy from Israel, the president of the Ahmadiyya community in Israel. They have him go to that. They have one in Nigeria. They'll have him go to that. They'll pay his whole fare. They'll have him. Hey, there's a UK Jalsa. Let's go get the most famous African Ahmadis and have them come take a picture. You know what I mean, et cetera, et cetera. So they're big on marketing, brother. In fact, if you look up the history of Ahmadiyya in Australia, there was a Muslim who they turned into an honorary missionary, again, who thought MGA was just a Mahdi, or like the smallest definition of the word, just like
Yeah.
a reviver,
Yeah.
and they supported him and et cetera, not knowing what his the full range of beliefs are, which are totally off the chart. You know, and forget
So
Islam; they're far away.
so how many jalsas do they have? Like, do they have one like in every like major country where they have like a presence of more than like 500 people or something?
Oh yeah, in every country. So in America, it's so big. There's a West Coast Jalsa too, a regional.
Okay.
And I think
Okay.
in the South in Texas they might have like a regional one too. Um,
I see. That's interesting. But like how many people like this one, this annual one, how many people usually attend? I know this year maybe they were saying because it's first post COVID, there weren't that many people there, but generally at a Jalsa Salana, how many people would be there?
so it depends on the country. In Germany, there's a lot of Amnesties. I think there's over 10,000. So Germany could get maybe 5,000 males.
Mm.
Um, Mostly the immigrants will show up. The young kids, they're not going for it. The immigrants who are there on asylum, they're going to be in there in the front row because remember, their asylum case doesn't get approved until the Ahmadiyya movement signs the paperwork saying that they paid chanda, that they
Mm.
attended all the events. You got to prove that you are an Ahmadi when you're an asylum person. So they're at all the events. And the new guys, like, so you saw the video where the guy said, "Yeah, I met some friends and now I'm married to one." There's another one, this guy named Vu. He's a Vietnamese guy. I posted another one from the same YouTube video. He said, "Oh, my girl, and I'm doing this to appease my girlfriend's family." You know what I mean? So there's even, and so here's what they do. They don't let you marry an Amity girl just like that. You got to wait a year.
Really?
You know, in Islam, there's no way. You got to wait. She might, if she was divorced, maybe she's pregnant. You got to wait like uh,
Until the kid's born in that case.
right, or 4 months if she's not pregnant. I think it's
Yeah. If
there's
she's
like a
not
waiting
pregnant, then
period.
4 months, 10 days.
Ahmadiyya movement, you gotta wait a year. You gotta pay chanda for 1 year.
You gotta be a real member, bro. It's
You
like
gotta be a real member. There's
they
no
gotta
faking.
make sure they get their money worth out of you.
So that's what they do, and then the Jalsa is where they showcase the 10 converts they got in 10 years, and it's like, well, they all married Ahmadi women. So it's not the Ahmadi men who get Muslim women and force the Muslim women to convert. It's the
Yeah.
opposite, right? Because the Muslim women might not go for it,
Yeah.
but the
No,
Ahmadi
without a doubt. I mean that's it's always been known that men are easier as I guess targets because men get easily melted.
get easily manipulated, um, not as clever. What
Yeah.
the fuck call
We're not
it?
trying to insult anybody, just saying it the way it is.
That's the way it is, man. They're in charge until you get married, and then
Yeah.
the decision. Then after a few years, it could flip. So
Yeah, no, without a doubt, without a doubt. So like some of the things that we were discussing, myself and the brother. Um, so what actually happens, like over the course of a weekend? This is 3 to 4 days long, depending on when they do it. What actually happens at a Jalsa Salana? I know there's speeches, and this year obviously I saw on a lot of discussion boards. The speeches really weren't about spirituality; they were mostly about defending the faith because of what's happened. But we'll get into that afterwards. But for the most part, what really happens at one of these jalsas? Like over the course of a weekend, what do they really do?
yeah, so it always starts on a Friday. It always starts
Okay.
Friday afternoon. Right after Jummah is the first session, they'll have some politicians show up, and then they'll have a session where they want to bash Ahmadis too. So everything they've done wrong. And so in this last Jalsa, Ahmadis have been asking questions. They know they've been asking questions. There's that Reddit forum that drives these guys crazy. The Islam Ahmadiyya Reddit forum, ran by, I think he's an atheist, Sahel Ahmed. He's on Twitter, at Reason on Faith. He's banned me like 10 times, famously, just because I'm like a Muslim. But I don't even try to convert anyone. But so yeah, so they talked about the Reddit forum and Ahmadis who are faking it, because the majority of them are faking it. You see what I mean? They're only there for the cultural. It's like a Punjabi country club. So if you're Punjabi, there's some connections, you know. So they attacked him. In fact, he called monafics as rats, and he said if you have a dead rat in your house, throw it out. So he was under his breath telling Ahmadis if their kids don't believe it, throw them out. And that's exactly how they believe. And that's how my dad was trying to deal with me. You see what I mean? Or to sabotage my future. Whether they throw you out or sabotage your future, it's one or the other. But they're not trying to help you get any kind of money at all to eat and to survive. You know what I mean? They're trying to make sure you never succeed. So that's the story, brother.
I see. So can anybody go, or is there like you said something about you have to be invited. So like if somebody like for example Brother Muhammad, he's a purely Sunni guy and he's just interested, he wants to go see it, can he just go register and go in or no?
I've never heard of that. I've never
Okay.
heard of that. So I mean, maybe if he walks up and they escort him around and watch him, you know,
And obviously I sent you a picture where it says you have to have your name tag on at all times.
at all. I never wore it. I never even registered. So I'd go to the Jalsa in LA. So brother, only Allah guides, and I just couldn't do this stuff these guys wanted us to do. And come to find out, they're worshiping a man.
See,
You
he's
know,
always been a troublemaker. I knew it.
always, always. So I was like, I'm not gonna register. You think I'm gonna what? And I didn't volunteer. I was like, oh, I'm not gonna volunteer. When I was a kid, you guys worked me to death. And
So
and
so so you didn't serve food in the langar khana?
not
This
after
is a
age
bad man.
19. Maybe before that, here or there. But
Okay.
and that's why, look, my brother hated me for this. They hated me because I would refuse. I'd be like, look, I work 7 days a week. You know what I mean? I'm here. I'm trying to sit down and enjoy the 2 minutes that I have free. As soon as I leave here, I got to work every day. You see what I mean? I'd be like, go ask the kids that don't have to work to to cut the grass. Why are you asking me? I work every day, man. So
Oh.
they always had a problem with me, and I was like, hey, we want to throw around the football, I'll do that. You want to play basketball, I'll do that. But this other stuff, I don't think so, man.
I don't know if you saw my Google Drive sheet. Did you see it? You didn't get
No,
access to it.
I never
So the
seen it.
question actually said, what's the question? Let me read it out. Can anyone attend, or do you have to be a kafir to attend?
A golfer or a high level monopic?
Because they had what's it called, a lot of politicians there, and so I was like, okay, well, they invite politicians. Obviously, it seems like it. I mean, they should invite one or two Sunni scholars, get a
Bro, they,
different
they
viewpoint.
had the director of USURF, uh, which is on religious freedom, universal religious freedom. That they had the ambassador of which it's total hogwash, brother. There's no such thing. Um, but that person was there. So they're over there brown nosing her, you know. But I sent them an email. USURF. I'm like, why would you guys support the Ahmadiyya movement? You've been tricked. So look, it's not just the common Muslim who
Yeah.
they're looking to trick. They're looking to brown nose and trick governments. In India, they're brown nosing the government, looking to get something out of it. In fact, the British government gave them like 100 acres in East Africa to build a temple. They built the biggest building in Qadian for them. That train station, the British government built for free, just for them. So they're working all the business angles, brother.
Yeah.
Um, and they have guys sitting around getting paid to do this.
So they have a website. It's called Love for All, Hatred for None, and I'm showing the website right here. And on this website, there you can see here Peterborough's Ahmadiyya community marks Queen's Platinum Jubilee. Peterborough's Ahmadiyya community joins in the Queen's Platinum Jubilee celebrations, and as you're saying, brown nosing. They have a big sign outside. Um, Congratulations, Your Majesty. They have the nice flags, Muslimsforpeace.org.uk, Ahmadiyya Muslim Community UK, and they have all their little kids and everybody standing right here with their maybe Shah and biscuit and stuff like that. And just basically this is their UK website, I think. And I just found it. I was talking with the brother. I was like, hey, you want to hear one of their website names? He's like, what is it? I was like, love for all, hatred for none. He's like, how cliche. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, and the brother Sadat Anwar actually
Yeah.
did a video on this motto. Well,
Really?
first off, it was created in 1980,
Okay.
and they were brown nosing the Spanish government in Spain to be allowed to build a temple.
I see.
So,
Were they
so
allowed?
we're like, hey, here's our slogan. We love everyone. Love for all, hatred for none. So the Spanish government allowed them to build a temple. I've actually been to it because I was in Spain in 2001 and 2003. I went to the temple and prayed what I thought was prayers in their temple like twice. So
Nice.
um, but so they invented it in 1980. Brothers Sadat Anwar, if you haven't seen his videos, amazing brother, out of Canada.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. The brother, he sent me his videos. He did a debate with the Ahmadis in Canada.
Yep, with Ansar Raza, and he made another video recently, like 2 months ago,
Oh, okay.
on this slogan, "Love for All," and he proved. He says Allah doesn't love everyone. Allah says like there's like 10 instances. Allah says He doesn't love the one who has ego. Allah doesn't love the one who's arrogant.
Yeah.
And I typed it all up. There's other instances. Those are just off the top of my head.
Okay,
So
so I have a question though. These are their prayer times right here. Prayer times. It says Fajr 4 a.m. Okay, that's fine. Zohar is at 2. Asr is at 5:15. They say they're Hanafi, but that's oh, they're in England. That works. It says Maghrib. Well, no, actually, that time is too early for being Hanafi. If they say that's what they are, and not that it's relevant, but
yeah,
they stick to that very hard that they're Hanafi. But it says Maghrib at 21:15, which is 9:15, right?
yeah,
And it says Isha at 21:15.
yeah, because they combine prayers a lot. For them, it's
Like,
normal,
like,
and here's the
like,
reason:
why?
because Mirza Ghulam Ahmad did it. And
Okay.
that's, as you know, that's not right. You're not supposed to combine prayers just because. I mean, if you got to travel on a camel 20 miles, you know what I mean? Like you got
Yeah. I
that's
mean,
like
like
an
you're
hour.
just there. I mean, there's nothing going on.
And we'll just combine it.
And that's one of the things which it goes back to, and I know this is the deeper point, which maybe not a lot of people will get, but they're always like we're there vehemently and adamantly Hanafi, and in Hanafis, combining prayers even when you're traveling is like if you can avoid it, avoid it. So they're combining prayers at Jalsa Salana, they're combining prayers here, they're combining prayers everywhere, and they're just to get it out of the way. And then you're like okay, you guys are there. You're in England. What? Why are you combining the prayers? So that was just one instance. I'm just wondering, and obviously this was their website, one of the websites. Okay, so there was another thing I wanted to go over with you. Um, let's see here. Let me share the other tab. Yes, this is uh, this is from their website Al Islam Jalsa Salana history milk biscuits and a long walk. So they have this one of the peer subs, Hazrat Maulvi Abdullah Sanori. You ever heard of him before?
Yeah, he was Mirza Ghulam Ahmad's toilet attendant, if that makes any sense.
No, it
He was
doesn't. What
with
the hell
him
does that mean?
in the private area. And that's weird, bro. He had like 3, 4 of those, and I'm like, okay, what? Okay, maybe rich people in the 1800s had toilet attendants. I wouldn't. I mean, unless I'm disabled, you know what I mean? I don't understand this. But he even found a bunch of red drops on Mirza Ghulam Ahmad's legs, and they claimed it came from heaven. So it's like the whole story's like, what? Ew.
So Maulvi Sahab is saying MGA. I've read Promise Messiah way too many times for me to even say it with a straight face. Was laying down in Baitul Fikr, a small room situated beside Masjid Mubarak, and I was massaging him. Um, Lala Sharampat knocked on the door. I was about to stand and open the door, but MGA instantly and very quickly stood up and unlocked the chain before I could. He then sat down and said, "You are our guest, and the Holy Prophet ﷺ has said that the guest should be respected." Um, so this is a good story. I enjoyed this one. So this guy comes to visit him, and so Mirza Ghulam Ahmad comes out and he offers him a jug of milk, and he offered him some cookies, and he kept giving him milk over and over again. It's about to
Yeah.
travel. Poor guy probably gonna have to pee 20 times.
Yeah, and remember, Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, he used to eat biscuits from England that
Yeah,
were made in pig fat.
yeah, yeah. You
So
told us that.
are these those same biscuits?
Possibly. So there was a special barakah in this. So he kept giving him milk, and upon this, he said, "Drink some more milk." Then he took a pack of biscuits out of his pocket, and he said to Shah Sahib, "Keep this in case you're hungry on the journey." These were some special biscuits that this guy came from so far that these biscuits, if he kept eating them, they're not gonna run out all the way to wherever he's going. So this is what I deduced from reading this reading this story. But this is has a lot of interesting stuff. uh I read this website a little bit. Then there was this portion about a previous Jalsa Salana. All of these are related to Jalsa Salana. A number of people came. They didn't have beds. A man by the name of Nabi Bakhsh. You've heard of Nabi Bakhsh?
Yeah.
What's the story behind Nabi Bakhsh Sahab?
He was one of his assistants working around the house,
Okay.
living in the house. Wasn't related, but he allowed him around all his women.
Okay.
Very weird. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's you see a lot of that in this, and like, for the first Jalsa Salana, it says that the MGA didn't have enough money, so they sold his mother's jewelry, Amma Jan's, and then what's it called? So he was sitting after Isha. He went to MGA, and he saw him seated with his arms crossed and a thin cloth over himself. He said, he talked to him, and he's like, "There's no beds." He's like, "It's cold. They don't have any bedding. What should we do?" He's like, "They can sleep with me. It's okay." No, no, that's not what he said. He said, "The guest should not be given any disturbance. It doesn't matter about me. The night shall pass." So it's just quite a hard push. There's a very interesting section on instant money where it's a little bit suspicious in my opinion, where it's like they didn't have enough money for the Jalsa Salana. They did the whole Jalsa Salana, and when it finishes, there's like a whole bunch of cash came. There's like money orders, and they're like all the money came all of a sudden. And to me, knowing what I know, that there was a lot of British support, immense amount of British support. Probably you told them what the budget was, and they probably sent the money.
They probably sent the money totally. They were already not even taxing him. So it's like, and he was like a tax collector. So come on. This is their guy, man. You know what I mean? They're gonna send him money, bro.
Okay, so Jalsa Salana historically has been on the 27th of December,
Yep.
right after Christmas. First
Right.
question, why?
Because everyone was off during Christmas break. So he's like, hey, in British India, the government has given everyone a week off for Christmas. Hey, let's make our own event.
Come on, man.
And his cousin in Qadian, he used to have something called Chura Mela. In Qadian, they used to have him like a bazaar called Chura Mela. His cousin started his own religion too, Mirza Imamuddin. So when you're the kings of the village, people will come sit around you and praise you all day, right? So anyone in the Mirza family was getting praised like that. So yeah, his cousin used to do it too. So I think he copied his cousin and created
What
this
did his
mela.
cousin come first?
Yeah, his cousin was 1886.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and his cousin with the sweepers. But in Urdu, they call the sweepers something different, bro. It's like a really
Jamadar.
no, 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 no. I don't remember, but sweepers
Like a
has a
bhangi?
yeah, for some reason it's escaping me, and maybe you said it, but chure, maybe the chure
Okay, I don't know.
they call chure is also sweepers, but it's just the gypsies. If you ever in Pakistan, in Rabwa, they live everywhere in the streets. I used to
Okay.
call them gypsies because they're not really any religion, but they'll come to your house and they'll clean your house for like 5 rupees or something like that.
Okay.
But so yeah, he was with the sweepers of Qadian, and he had a following, and then all of a sudden Mirza Ghulam Ahmad did the same thing.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
remember, there's no jobs in British India, bro. So you're either a farmer breaking your back or social entrepreneurialism.
Or you could work for the British.
Or yeah, you could be a teacher, a doctor, and you're working directly for them. So
I see. So yeah, so this, so why, how come the American Jalsa Salana doesn't take place on the 27th?
oh, because so now it's all over the world, and they don't want it to collide with other ones, right? I think they just had it in Ireland, so they'll pick it to where there's a Jalsa happening every month around the world now. You
Hmm.
see what I mean?
So I
It's
mean,
that.
I understand that, but it seems as though, they're reading their text, like obviously on their website, that those are the days which are muqarrar, which are set aside for this. It's like saying, well, I really wanted to go for Hajj, but there's something a Zil Hajj program taking place, so I don't know which one to go to. That Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, sort of said 3 days every year should be fixed, and in my opinion, these days should be from the 27th to the 30th.
Yeah.
Um, so he
So
sort of
they don't
made.
follow Mirza Ghulam Ahmad. Remember, the next Khalifa, whatever a sitting Khalifa says, is who they follow. They don't follow MGA.
Oh, okay,
So,
okay. I
so
I
it
see
goes
what
back
you're
to
saying
that.
now.
What does if the sitting Khalifa says that there can be another prophet, they'll
Yeah.
believe it. If the sitting
Oh,
Khalifa kicks everyone out who claims to be a prophet, then that's the policy.
okay, okay. Okay, so the next point is, it says right here, there is more to the annual convention, Jalsa Salana, that meets the eye. This convention was established by the founder of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. I'm gonna have to say that, the promised Messiah and Imam Mahdi, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad. So he's the founder, the promised Messiah, and the Imam Mahdi. Um,
Everything.
everything. So the purpose is to increase one's communion with Allah Almighty. Okay, we can be like, okay, that sounds good. To pray for those brothers who have passed away. So I was reading it in detail, and it says, yeah, this is one of the main purposes, so we can make dua for everybody. Like, okay, to meet new members and increase in brotherhood. Okay, to gain and increase in knowledge. Okay, so that's what it's looking like are the main reasons out there. But like, the one where it's like praying for those who passed away is like, okay, it was like, we should be praying for them all the time. I don't think one of the main purposes of any convention should be to pray for all of them.
Right.
It shouldn't be like a cornerstone. It should be an understood.
Right.
So it was, just reading some of these things, you're like, okay, I don't seem to understand what's really going on. What are they trying to establish? It's just it doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, it seems like the plan for a small religion, like a family-based religion, and that's what it is.
Yeah. It's a total brainwashing session. Get some riste, give us more money. It could be a donation drive. It's a total trap.
Okay. So do they have like a lot of vendors and stuff that come out to sell, like, their topis and stuff like that, or what is that?
Normally, they don't allow anyone to sell anything at any Jalsa.
Really? So there's no convention? Like, I mean, not convention. There's no like
Like, so we have vendors. Look,
lending. Yeah.
at Juma, the masjid will say, "Hey, some halal joint wants to do a stand. The
Yeah.
extra money goes to the masjid, or the
Yeah.
masjid has got food. Buy
Yeah.
the, of course, you're gonna buy the food from the masjid. No, sir, not at all. Now, I think in recent years they've been trying it, but
Okay.
they don't really like to do that.
Okay.
So the food is already paid for, uh,
Okay. Well, they
and
have the Langar Khana concept. That's why.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay. So there's no vendor ideology. Okay. So content. Okay, we're gonna get into content. content of the Jalsa, they have many, many, many speeches. They have other like side sessions and stuff like that. Few of the speeches I heard. What was the Baba's name? The Mirza Masroor's brother?
Magfood.
Maghfur. He gave the speech, and his speech, one of the things which he emphasized was a majority of Qadianis and Ahmadis are not praying at the masjid or at all.
At
First of all,
all.
he said people are not praying. He's like, I'm not talking about at the Jamaat Khanas. I'm talking about they're not praying at all. He's like, less than 15% of Ahmadis are praying at all.
At
And then
all.
he was talking about khuddams.
Khudam, yeah.
Khuddams are not going to take care of their responsibilities and stuff like that. He was talking about that, and just like he's like, we're in disarray. Why are we in disarray? We need to get back onto the right path and stuff like that. He was mentioning that. And then there was other speeches which we've discussed in previous podcast episodes. But like then there was the one guy. He looked like an African guy with a long beard and one of those the Qaidasm topi things, and he was giving a speech against the Lahoris. And it was just this one, and I was reading the message boards, which you sent me some, and then I went on and found them myself. There was a lot of people who were complaining, and all of the Jalsa Salana videos on YouTube are no comment. You can't comment on them at all. All of them. I went through all of them trying to find them, and you can't comment on any of them.
Bro, it would be out of control if they allowed it.
So that kind of bugged me, honestly. I'm like, Hajj to Makkah, Haramain live. You can comment. Anybody, people say crap all the time. You can ban them.
Yeah.
So there's no commenting allowed on any of them. And they had one like live stream where they do it for 10, 12 hours a day, whatever. So other thing was this is a tangent. I was watching the last Jummah Mirza Saab gave over there in Tilford.
Yeah.
So it says Tilford, Islamabad.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. They just named it Islamabad.
Okay. खुद का नहीं मिला तो दूसरा अपना खुद का बना लिया. So
They built the minaret in Qadian. Okay, so Mirza Ghulam Ahmad dies in 1908. In 1901, Mirza Ghulam Ahmad says, "Let's build a minaret to fulfill the hadith of Damascus." Right?
Okay.
The famous hadith that Isa will descend on the minaret. So he said, "Well, I didn't do that."
God.
First he was saying the hadith was faulty. Astaghfirullah. Then he says, "Let's just build one." So he collects money to build one, and then all the money goes missing. So when the second Khalifa is elected in 1914, he gets a minaret built. So brother, they'll build it if they didn't do it.
Well, one of the things which I was reading in the first Jalsa Salana that they had, the first guy was one of their muftis or something. I guess they used to have muftis. He gave a speech, and in a speech, he discussed the fact. I don't. There's no transcript of the actual what he said, but about the death of Jesus. And obviously they believe he died. So that was the first speech, obviously setting their aqidah apart. So as Sunni Muslims, or as Muslims in general, even the Shias, we don't believe Isa alayhi salam died. So that goes off unto itself, saying that okay, you're not following the Sahih religion. And then obviously the whole thing of him going to Kashmir on a rendezvous, that's not in line with the religious beliefs, any of our religious beliefs. So obviously
not even close.
So obviously this time their whole jalsa was very propaganda based. And one of the reasons was the audio release of Nida. So what we discussed generally what kind of things they do, but like from what you read on the boards, being a previous Ahmadi, you probably heard from other people. You have access to other sources of I guess discussions. What was being said about this year's Ahmadi Jalsa?
The biggest theme was don't ask questions. We don't need you. We're cutting you off. We cut off the dry branches. If your children have
Bashir, go away.
Yeah, go away. Right. And no, my dad was doing it 40 years ago. He didn't need all these reminders. Some of the fair weather MDs, they're the ones getting the reminders. My dad, I remember I started asking questions 11, 12 years old, and it had to be allowed, put that in my heart to say something's wrong here. So my dad was exactly doing that to me. He didn't care if I was a straight A student. He didn't care about any of that. To him, I was a dead rat. So that's how he treated me. So that was the overarching theme: obedience. And if you ask a question and you get a response, that's it. They answered you. You should be quiet now. You're not allowed to ask questions. You're a munafiq, and munafiqs are like the worst type of human beings. But they don't understand. They themselves are the munafiq. It's the munafiq calling other people munafiqs that's ironic. Mirza Ghulam Ahmad was a munafiq. He said he planned his claims. He said as early as 1880 he knew he was going to claim to be the second coming of Jesus, but he withheld it. He hid it because whatever. Then his claim to be a prophet, he withheld it for 20 years. For 20 years, he said he's not a prophet, but he knew he was. So the munafiq is them. So it's very ironic when these people are calling Ahmadis munafiqs, who are just asking questions. I asked a question in their temple, and they all jumped on me. And the word is always, if a Qadiani Ahmadi asks a question, he's gone, bro. They're like, it's over. When we get to a point where they're asking questions, it's too late. So they do the brainwashing before the questions are asked. You see what I mean? Go to the Jalsa, go to the Istima, go here, go there, get all the training, and you won't have any questions. So that's in my opinion, what I got out of it, the overarching theme. And I always knew what it was, but I married a Qadiani Ahmadi. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have went in so deep. That's where it happens, is who do you marry? So I try to tell all the Muslim brothers, I know it's hard, but there's so many Muslim women out here, brother, that people know, and depending on who you are, you should pick someone based on that. So, a college student is different than, someone who's later on in a career, or someone over 50 or someone over 60. These are all different scenarios, but so that's how they got me. I married one, I went to Rabwa, and it's like, it's too late now. What are you going to do now? And I tried to be quiet about it, but they knew I didn't believe it. So what did they do? They attacked me. They attacked my job, my marriage. They attacked every single part of me. And, they didn't succeed. So that was the overarching theme, brother.
I see. Just don't ask questions. They were very defensive this time. Very defensive. Like I said, I watched a good bit of the speeches. There was a lot of defense going on there that, not defending the religion, defending the fact that don't listen to anything that's going on outside. Don't question anything. Don't bring up any questions. If somebody asks you a question, just, move away.
That's
sort
it.
of like that.
And remember, the imams in America can, like, at the regular Islamic centers, they can leave. They can move and say, peace, bro. I'm not going to work here anymore. In the Ahmadiyya movement, you're a Murabbi, you better shut up and do what they say, because they're going to embarrass you. They're going to try to embarrass you. They're going to take your wife and kids from you and make sure you can never see them again. That they're going to ruin your career to where you're going to be working at Burger King. They don't let their murabbis or imams get a college education. So you don't have any of this. So where are you going to go? If you're 30 something, almost 40 something, you have a family, you got to go say what they told you to say, bro. You see what I mean? It's not going to happen. There was one guy who quit. I grew up with him on the West Coast. His dad was a murabbi too. Zial Haq Koser. He saw the hypocrisy, but he became a murabbi. So the Khalifa got mad at him and wanted to send him to Africa, somewhere in Africa, as a punishment. Oh, you're in America, you became a murabbi, you think you're hot, we're going to send you, you don't want to listen? We're going to send you to West Africa or somewhere and make you live in a hut and do that job. And then the murabbis who are good, we're going to have them come to America and the UK. And you see what I mean? If you're a murabbi, you could be in the doghouse too. Oh, we'll send you to Pakistan, bro. You want to play? So they're under extortion, brother. And I think there's about 300 of them in the world at this point. So they have 300 paid employees who are under extortion, giving speeches, doing whatever they say. That's the story, brother.
So how many years does it take to become a murabbi?
7 years.
Oh, really? Okay.
But check this out. Their guy in Ireland, Noonan, have you come across?
Yeah, you told me about him. Yeah.
Didn't even go. And then he won't admit to it. Like, bro, just admit to it. he was rolling the R in Fatiha.
Yeah.
What's the last verse? Hold on, I put
غير
that.
المغضوب عليهم ولا
He was
الضالين.
rolling that R,
Oh,
and
okay.
we were like, "Bro, this isn't Spanish."
I see. غير.
Right? We're like, that's like Ain, bro.
Yeah.
Right, right. So I figured out you didn't go to Jamia. So it's like you're not even qualified. But since he was an Irishman, a marketing thing, they grandfathered him in. Now, I don't think any
Grandfather the man.
they grandfathered him in. Now, does any government care if the missionaries of the Ahmadiyya movement are qualified?
No,
No,
obviously not.
no. I mean, uh, how does this even make any sense? They don't care. So what's their seminary? It's a bunch of hogwash. I know a guy who was there who told me there's a lot of gay stuff happening there in their hostel. I can't even say a lot of the things I've been told, but it's that type of environment for 7 years. It used to be at Gadian, and from what I heard, the raping part is like it's part of it.
Mm.
So once they do that to you, what are you gonna do, bro? It's too late. You're in now.
Mm.
It's like a rite of passage. One of the males has to violate you, and now once you're violated, you'll never be the same, bro.
So one of the things which I was reading, that's very unfortunate to hear all of that, and the thing about it is, Ahmadiyya is very controlled. It's a controlled movement. All the orders come from a certain place,
Centralized,
which centralized. It has a chain of command and stuff like that. So it's not like it's very free form like mainstream Islam,
right?
but it's very controlled. So one of the things which I read on their website, which said that Ahmadiyya. Hold up, where is it? Okay, it says it should be noted that AMA UK is a separate and behaves separately from the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat International.
Totally. It's under, yeah.
Why?
That's how they set up their. So if you sue the Ahmadiyya movement in the UK, you're not suing AMJI. So
Okay.
they got 10 companies that could be independently
Okay.
operated and legally.
Okay. So this is their income sheet for the England. I can you email me the one you were talking about, the Canadian, the Jalsa sheet?
Yeah, yeah. I gotta find it. Hang on.
You can email it if you have it up, you can email it to the straight path podcast at gmail.com. The email address is sent and I'll show it up here in a minute. But like, okay, data for financial year ending June 30th, 2021.
Right.
Total income 26 million, total expenditures 18 million.
So they had an 8 million surplus.
Yeah, that's pretty good, man.
Yeah.
Um more for Mirza Masur's vacations. Um so
Yep.
donation.
And like a third of that, they send to the AMJI. Now, once a charity gives another charity money, you could go throw it in the. I mean, no one. It's not regulated as what did you do with the money. You could spend it. You could say, I'm going to build a building in Africa, in West
Yeah.
Africa, and pay a guy under the table $100 and say, no, it costs 10,000 if you want to audit me. You know what I mean? Here's the paperwork.
Okay, so AMA UK has 250 employees, almost 247, 37 trustees, and 7,000 volunteers.
So this is how I figured out the amount of Amnis in the UK, the amount of volunteers.
Does everybody have to be a volunteer?
Everyone is a volunteer. Everyone at a Ahmadiyya movement is a volunteer. So,
Okay, so it says employees with total benefits over 60,000. There's
no,
zero.
no, 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 no. That's the pay. With total benefits over 60,000, there's no one making more than 60,000 per year for this charity.
How?
Because the Murabbis, they only get about all their bills are paid. Their housing is paid. They get a
Oh,
food
okay.
allowance, a gas allowance. It makes it cheaper.
Okay, okay.
So they get about 1,000 a month. We used to call it wham, walk around money. Yeah, when I was in the military, we'd be like, "You got that wham?" You know what I mean?
Mm,
So they get walk around money. So, brother, if someone pays all your bills, all your bills, and gives
Yeah.
you 1,000 on top of that. People in America don't save 100 per month.
Yeah.
These guys are so really they're making a lot of money. And that guy in Ireland, Noonan, he wasn't able because he had children before he married the Ahmadi woman. He had children with a Sunni woman, and he didn't pay child support, or his child support was like so minimal that they were upset. But he was like, "Look, legally, I barely make any money."
Mm.
You know,
Okay.
so he found that loophole. But that's how, again, that's how they trap the Murabbis and say
Mm.
you're going to do what we tell you to do.
Mm. Interesting. So now I'm gonna share from your blog. Um, hold up, Chrome tab. Where is it? From Bashir's beautiful website. Um, so let's see here. In 2018, 21 million was collected. Wasiyat was the biggest category at 5.7 million. Chanda Aam was 3 million, followed by the Mosque Fund at 2.7 million. Tahrik-e Jadid, Movement of Modernism?
Uh, it's just a move. They say they're sending money to Africa.
Okay.
What do we
And
know?
then there's Waqf-e Jadid. Um, and what's it called? And then gifts at 1.4 million. Thus, the Wasiyat business generates 25% of the collections of the money. And then you write down here, this proves that the Ahmadiyya movement spends lots on nonsense. They aren't helping the poor and use most of the money to pay their employees pennies and thus launder the money overseas.
There it is.
What does the charity do? Education, training, prevention of poverty, religious activities, so on and so forth. How does the charity help? Where does the charity operate? England and the Wales. They registered in 88.
Yep. And every 50 years they'll make a new charity. You see what I mean?
Okay.
They'll close. So where the Khalifa lives in Tilford, Islamabad.
Yeah,
Yeah. So before we talk about that, where the Khalifa lives, it's owned by a different charity altogether.
that's smart.
That's smart. See, it's called the Mirza Sharif Ahmed Foundation. Here,
Mhm.
let me send it to you. The only thing the Mirza Sharif Ahmed Foundation does, it holds the title to the property in Tilford where the Khalifa lives. That's like a $30 million asset, 30 million pound
That's
asset.
what do you call it? Sh- What do you call that? Shell company?
A shell, exactly. It's a shell, and I just sent it to you.
Do
The
they do
Mirza
they have do they have money in I remember I read something on your blog, something about them having money in Panama.
Panama, Switzerland, any offshore place where they could put their money to where it's not taxed, they're doing it. You know they're doing it. And we caught them in Panama um, with funny names. We even found the Khalifa's name, Mirza Masroor Ahmad, on a bunch of companies. But since then, they turned all those companies off and they've probably reset the whole thing. So remember, the take is 33% of Chanda, in my opinion, is the take that goes to AMJI, and that's how they wash it. But everything else is for day to day activities.
I mean, what's going on day to day? I mean, aside from the dawa, I mean, there's and I guess paying people, but there's not much like humanitarian efforts or anything going on.
Yeah, they're not really doing
I
much.
mean,
And the
I
one
mean, you
one
you
little thing
tried.
that they'll do, they'll make a video and they'll make us take some photos, but really they didn't do nothing.
I mean, you were trying to get the one Atir Saab to come on, right?
Murabi out there, yeah, yeah,
So you shared the video, I think on TikTok of the Qadianis complaining in Qadian they don't have bathrooms in the shop, so they just pee on the street.
yeah. Yeah, man, it's pretty bad. They're not spending nothing, but they rebuilt the family, the where MGA used to live. They refurbished, rebuilt that entire thing. It had to have costed, oh, because in India you can get it done for cheap, but they refurbished the whole thing, and no one's even allowed in where MGA used to live, his temples. So where are they spending this money at, man? But you could send money to India, 1 million, and it's gone, bro.
Yeah, yeah, no. Um, I'm looking at this. What you just sent me. Uh,
Yeah, so pull up the one you're about to pull up in Canada. Let's see how much the
did you
Murabi.
send me that?
I thought you were about to pull it up.
Oh no, I pulled up the wrong one. Then give me a second. I'm about to pull that one up.
Yeah,
Oh
I
here.
just
Okay,
sent
I
you.
see it.
Yeah, yeah.
I see it. I just see it. I gotta send it to myself. But yeah, why don't they take care of these poor people in Qadian?
They don't even care. Because
Maybe you
look,
should.
in Qadian, they know it's game over. That like 90% of the city is Sikh and Hindu. So like,
Really?
yeah, 90% of the city is Sikh and Hindu.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
there's like how
Th-
many Qadianis do they have left there?
I've about 3,000, and it's dwindling.
No, that's not too many.
Because there's no jobs. I mean, what are you gonna do in that? They don't manufacture. Um, there's just shops and farms, and maybe you could have work at the hospital, maybe. Um,
This is this the 990 return of organization exempt from income tax?
yeah, of
Okay.
course. All
Is that the one you're saying to open up?
well, I sent you on WhatsApp, not on
Yeah,
email.
no, no, no. I forwarded it to myself.
Yeah, in Canada, the AMJ movement forced to publish a balance sheet. Pull that one up, and I'll tell you how much their Murabi's team is getting paid.
Okay,
Or
hold on.
so remember, the food that's allocated, it shows up differently on a balance sheet. You
Okay,
know,
we're right here.
yep. Scroll down, you'll see expenses. I think there's another one that comes up first. Yep.
Oh, right here. Okay, okay.
So that's the assets.
Okay.
As you can see, they own how much in temples around in Canada? Was that 67 million?
Yeah, 67 million.
So they're worth about 100 million in Canada
Then they
in
have
land,
mission houses, which are 11 million.
right? That they're working on,
Okay.
undeveloped properties, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then scroll down. But see, if the U.S. government pulls your tax-free benefit, they'll impound all your properties.
Yeah.
It can be done overnight. So look at the expenses: management and professional fees. What is that, brother? How could
1.4
management?
million.
It's like what? What is
Oh,
that?
hold up. There's wages and benefits are separate.
That's the highest amount. 3 million on their murabbies.
In
That's a
Canada,
lot of money.
rent rate and taxes, that's close to 2 million. Jalsa is Salana, 1.37 million.
Yep.
Wow. Property expenses, 2 million.
What does that even mean?
I mean, bank charges, 39,000.
It's like, oh, the interest.
Computer audio video, 120,000. What the hell are they buying? They got
So
a
once
bunch of drones? Can you find out?
again, so legally they don't have to tell us. Legally, this is all they
Vehicles
got to
and
do.
repairs, that looks like 450,000 or
It does.
436.
It does. How can vehicles and repair bill be this so high, man?
And
I don't get
traveling
it.
and meetings, 680,000.
There's the subsidies that they're
And
giving out.
literature, 500,000.
Who buys books these days?
Apparently, they need to teach the Murabbis one way or another. They spend more on faxing, mail, and vehicle repair than it did on donating money.
And then look, okay, so they spent all this money. How many people converted? Like two. Like, brother, how could you flop so bad? You're sitting on 100 million with a cash flow of 30 million per year, and you got two converts. The women got more than the trained rubbies.
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously their method of converting via marriage is working better than anything. I think they should probably hire women Murabbis. Do they have those women Murabbis?
No.
No, they don't. Maybe they should look into that.
Yeah.
Um, I saw the IRS one. It doesn't look like they collect too much money in the U.S.
Well, in the U.S., they don't have to publish their balance sheet.
Oh, okay,
It's,
okay.
it's totally unknown. There is like a charity watch or a charity
Oh,
navigator,
Charity Navigator. Yeah, yeah.
but they don't have the report. I think I've tried to get it, but it's probably the same as
I mean,
Canada.
most major organizations, Muslim organizations, your charity organizations like ICNA Relief, Islamic Relief, like that, they will publish their reports so people will have confidence in them, and donate to them.
Right. Right.
if you
Well,
don't
these
publish
guys
your
are only on private donation too. They don't take money from anywhere else because if they took money from the government, that they'd be subject to an audit, and you don't
yeah.
want that. And look, there's a weird rule in America for nonprofit corporations. Unless someone stole more than 500,000, you don't even have to report it. And I remember reading this like, what? What is this? They talk about abortion laws and all this. They got to tighten up the laws on nonprofits.
So I remember back when I was in accounting, um, there was this one in one of our courses, income tax course I took with a very good professor, and one of the sections said that all income must be declared even if it comes from illegal sources. I'm like, why would anybody declare their income from an illegal source? I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, how much sense does this make? Who's gonna declare their illegal money? So obviously, if money is being funneled down to this country, to them, if it needs to be, they're not going to report that. There's no
Right,
reason to.
right. But that's how they famously got Al Capone, right?
For this illegal money.
For tax evasion. They were like,
Mm.
you made $100,000 illegally, you didn't pay tax, so that's how he went to jail.
Oh dang.
So they couldn't prove how he made it. They couldn't prove where he got it from. They were like, okay, it doesn't matter. If you had this money, you still got to pay income tax on it. We prove you had it. Go to jail, and that's the only way they got him.
Wow.
So if the government wants to get you, bro, they will get you.
Oh.
Now, do you think the U.S. government wants to get the Amnesty movement? No, they have a caucus in the U.S. Congress that is got Democrats and Republicans on the Ahmadiyya Congress caucus. They're working with USERF. They're working with UNHCR refugee. They got guys coming in and out of there. They got a Harvard lawyer named Amjad Khan, who's brown nosing all of them and everyone in the UK. They're not going after them.
How about your boy QR?
Gossamer. So here's the thing: they got him trying to be a senator or a congressman, and it's not working.
Mm.
And it's hilarious. He lives in a Republican-dominated area. It's like you're an idiot. Why would you live there if you're trying to be a politician? They're never going to elect a Democrat anyways. So you
Mm.
should move into an area, or maybe he saw it as he'll flip the district. You know what I
Where
mean?
does he live?
In Virginia, in the first
Okay.
district of Virginia,
Oh,
and he's
okay.
going for Senate again. But it's a Republican. Like they haven't lost a seat in 25 years.
Oh, okay.
So it
I mean,
seems
of all people, he's probably not going to flip it because he can't even get the Muslim vote.
I can't even get this. So why? So then what was I gonna say? So on top of that, um his oh man, I sort of lost my train of thought, but well, what was I gonna say? He's trying hard. Okay, so he's not even a lawyer. I remember
No,
he's
is he
not a
not?
lawyer. Because someone did an investigation on him. They're like, he hasn't practiced law in 3-4 years. And when you're a lawyer, you got to keep it up, or you lose your certifications or qualifications. Like you got to go to a conference or something, right, to keep up your qualification. And he was an immigration lawyer on top of that. So who was he even helping? Just the Ahmadiyya movement. So it's all dubious who's paying his bills, and his sister married a Muslim boy and left Ahmadiyya.
No, I
How
didn't know
funny is
that.
that? Yeah, bro. The brother Muzzy Buzz. There's a YouTube channel,
Oh
Muzzy
yeah, I
Buzz.
saw his channel. Yeah.
Yeah, I did an interview on that. He said he grew up with him. It's like, what?
Mm.
He said, yeah, I grew up in Chicago and I knew him. And his
Mm.
sister, Alhamdulillah, became a Muslim.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. So, Brother Bashir, it's been wonderful conversations, lots and lots of knowledge, for myself and for other people. They've appreciated the podcast a lot, and I really appreciate your time. You're giving out time. I know you're not teaching anything, but you could be doing many other things right now. So I really appreciate your time. And I really appreciate all the knowledge, the honesty, and obviously you put in a lot of work on your Ahmadiyya fact check blog. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you for all of your efforts, and may He continue to reward you, and may He grant you, your family, hidayah, and may He bring your family back to actual Islam, inshallah. Because we always pray as Muslims for the best for everybody, regardless of who they are, where they come from. We always, hold out hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who gives hidayah. He can possibly give them hidayah, and maybe tomorrow they die better Muslims than we are. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all of your efforts. But inshallah, we'll continue to collaborate. There's a few things I told you, inshallah, over the course of this week. I'll help you out with those things as well. But I really appreciate it. Are there any parting thoughts for us?
No, brother, no parting thoughts. Just be very careful of the Ahmadiyya movement and their propaganda. They've been doing it for a long time. They've manipulated so many people. Just be very careful. And I could use the help on Twitter. A lot of ex Ahmadis I meet aren't really fast on Twitter.
Yeah,
But I work with as many people as possible, even people whom I might disagree with. I
yeah,
try to work with everyone, brother. Um, and try to give them the facts about Ahmadiyya as straight as possible and in the shortest amount of time. So just pray for me and pray for my family, and everything else should be good.
inshallah, inshallah. Jazakallah khair for your time. Inshallah, we'll catch up and keep in touch and remember us in your du'as, inshallah.
Sounds
Assalamu
good, brother.
alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Wa salam.